Cadair Idris. Cader Idris is a mountain in Gwynedd, Wales, which lies at the southern end of the Snowdonia National Park near the town of Dolgellau. The peak, which is one of the most popular in Wales for walkers and hikers, is composed largely of Ordovician igneous rocks, with classic glacial erosion features such as cwms, moraines, striated rocks, and roches. Moutonnées. Etymology: Cadair Idris means Idris is Cadair. Idris is usually taken to be the name of a giant, or alternatively, it may refer to Idris ap Gwynedd, a 7th-century prince of Moraines who won a battle against the Irish on the mountain. Idris ap Gwynedd was in fact referred to as Idris Gore in some medieval genealogies of Moraines. The basic meaning of the word Cadair is seat, chair. In place names, Cadair can mean stronghold, fortes, fortresses, or mountain, a hill shaped like a chair. The spelling Cader represents a spoken variant of the standard form Cadair. It appears that Cader Idris is the form used in the earliest Welsh language sources. In a poem in his own hand in the second half of the 15th century, the poet Louise Glyn Coddy wrote, Dros Cadair Idris G6 Sedi. Around 1600, John Jones of Galilee referred to Wyman in Oiban Oibo Lally. Cader Idris is the mountain peak, a hill known as Cader Idris. The spoken form represented by Cader had developed by the end of the Middle Ages, and as a result the form Cader Idris was often used in English and Latin documents at the time, and in more recent documents in English and Welsh. In his Dictionary Duplex published in 1632, John Davies of Malwood differentiated between the two words Cadair and Cader, referring to Cader Idris and Cader Dinmol. That interpretation was followed by some later lexicographers, including Thomas Charles and Titus Lewis. It is now accepted, however, that Cader is a spelling of a spoken form of Cadair, and that there is no evidence that Cadair and Cader are separate words, but as it represents the pronunciation in the local dialect, the spelling Cader Idris is often seen in Welsh and English. In June 2016, Snowdonia National Park decided to adopt that spelling on its signage. The local dialect form is also seen in the name of the local secondary school, Ysgol Gader. The name of the mountain is typically spelled Cadair Idris on current maps. The summit of the mountain is known as Pennygader. Ascent: there are 3 main trails that lead to the top of Cadair Idris. The summit, which is covered in scree, is marked by a trig point. There is also a low standing stone shelter with a roof. Pony Path. The Pony Path, which begins in the north from either Dolgellau or the Moutach estuary, is the easiest but the longest of the main trails. Its length from the mountain's base is 5 kilometers with a 600 meters climb. Fox's Path. The Fox's Path. This is the most direct way to the summit, as the trail leads straight up the northern face. The 3.8 kilometers ascent involves a climb up a 310 meters cliff scree face. However, this part of the Fox's Path has been heavily eroded in recent years, making the descent dangerous. Minforth Path. The Minforth Path starts on the southern side of the mountain near the glacial Lyn Lake. Hikers using this ascent climb past Lyn Cau and along the rim of Craig Cau to Pennygader. Its length is 4.4 kilometers and involves 2 climbs of over 300 meters. Geology. The crater-like shape of Lyn Cau has given rise to the occasional mistaken claim that Cadair Idris is an extinct volcano. This theory was discounted as early as 1872, when Charles Kingsley commented in his book Town Geology. The natural bowl-shaped depression was formed by a cirque glacier during the last ice age, when snow and ice accumulated in the corries due to avalanches on higher slopes. In these depressions, snow persisted through summer months and becomes glacial ice. The cirque was up to a square kilometer in size, surrounded on 3 sides by steep cliffs. The highest cliff was the head wall. The fourth side was the lip, from which the glacier flowed away from the cirque. Over thousands of years ice flowed out through the bowl's opening, carving the chair of Cader Idris. As the glacier eroded the lip down to the bedrock, there are several teardrop-shaped hills above the edge of Cau. These geologically important rocky outcrops are called roches moutonnées and were formed from the abrasive action of the ice. The two highest lakes are Cau and Gwynedd. It appears to have a maximum depth of about 13 meters. Much of the area around Cadair Idris was designated a National Nature Reserve in 1957, and is home to Arctic alpine plants such as purple saxifrage and dwarf willow. Myths, legends and popular culture. There are numerous legends about Cader Idris. Some nearby lakes are supposed to be bottomless, and anyone who sleeps on its slopes alone will supposedly awaken either a madman or a poet. This tradition apparently stems from bardic traditions, where bards would sleep on the mountain in hope of inspiration. Although the mountain's name is typically taken to refer to the mythological giant Idris, who was said to have been skilled in poetry, astronomy and philosophy, it has sometimes been mistranslated as Arthur's seat, in reference to King Arthur, an idea used by author Susan Cooper in her book, The Grey King. However, this translation is mistaken, and there is no etymological or traditional connection between Idris and Arthur. In Welsh mythology, Cader Idris is also said to be one of the hunting grounds of Gwynedd and his Cwn and NWN. The howling of these huge dogs foretold death to anyone who heard them, the pack sweeping up the person's soul and herding it into the underworld. The mountain is mentioned several times and is used as a backdrop to the story of Mary Jones and her Bible. This story is an account of a girl from Clan Fihangel Pennant at the foot of the mountain who walked 25 miles to Bala in order to buy a Bible, which were scarce at the time. Jones' determined journey to get hold of a copy of the book in 1800 was a major factor behind the foundation of the British and Foreign Bible Society in 1804. Cader Idris's Werewolf Herondale journeys to in order to attempt to rescue Tessa Gray from Mortmain in Clockwork Princess. Book 3 of the Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. In The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stevater, Cader Idris is mentioned in relation to Owain Glyndŵr. Tongues of fire on Idris flaring is mentioned in the opening verse of the John Gard version of Men of Harlech.